Welcome to LabMiss.com. Cisco comes out regularly with software patch to fix bugs, and if you happen to run into those bugs, you will need to apply those patches. Luckily, the patch is cumulative, which means if you want to get to the latest patch, you can just go straight to that patch without having to apply all the previous patches. In this video, we will show you how to apply a patch for Cisco ICE, as well as how to roll it back in case the new patch causes issues. We will be using the command line method, although you will see that you can also do this from the GUI, but that's just not recommended. Here's our lab setup. So we have a Cisco ICE running version 112 at the IP of .102, and we also have an FTP server running at the IP of .40, where the patch is going to be stored. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to identify which patch you want to download and apply. So once you've identified your patch number, you can go ahead and download it from a Cisco website and then put it somewhere in the local directory. So right here, we have a patch number 3 downloaded and placed under the ICE backup directory. Now, first let me show you where you would do, or you would apply the patch from the GUI, although we're not going to be doing that since it's not a recommended method. But here, if you come here at the patch under the administration, maintenance, and patch management, you can see right now we do not have any patch apply, and you can either install or roll back, and this will take care of all your nodes if you have multiple nodes. But still, it is recommended to do from the command line interface, which is what we're going to be doing this lab. Okay, so first we create the repository, just like when you create a repository for the backup. So we'll click Add, and we'll give it a name. Let's call it FTP software. And protocol, we say we're going to be using FTP. Path, we use the root directory. The server IP is 172.16.32.40. Username, we give it Cisco. Okay, and then we submit. And then let's, just to make sure the repository it's working correctly, so we can SSH to ICE, which we did already here. We have the prompt. And we can do show repository and have to type in the exact name FTP software. And here you can see we have a FTP running in the background. We're successfully logged in and we were able to pull up or list the file under this directory, and here's our patch right there. Okay, so let me clear out this, and then now we're going to start applying the patch. So the command for that is patch. If you do question mark, you either have an option of install or remove. So first we're going to do install. And then it said patch bundle file name, so we have it right here. And if you do question mark, it said the name of the repository, which is FTP software. And that's it. So enter. And so do you want to save the current ADOS running? Let's say yes. And now you can see it's starting downloading the patch from the FTP server. Okay, so it looks like it's fairly quick since the patch is not that big, just 12 meg. And now the patch is being applied. So it's just going to have to wait a couple minutes here. I was just going to leave the video running and then fast forward later so you guys don't have to wait for the whole duration. Right, so ICE came back and said patch successfully installed, and if you do show ver, you see that we under the Cisco Identity Services Engine patch, we are currently running version number 3. So right after the patch has been applied, some of the services will be restarted. You can see right here, before we had the ICE application server went to the initializing state, and then we have to wait for a couple minutes for that to come back, and now the service is back up and running again. So if you go back to the GUI and went to the patch under the maintenance, and then go to patch management, and you see here the new patch that we just applied also reflects on the GUI. So patch number 3. Okay, so now that we have successfully applied the patch, let's say that you're now running into some issues and would like to roll back to the previous software state or version that you are running. So now if you go back to the command line, The way to do that, just like I showed earlier, there's two options, one for to install and one to remove. So here we are going to remove, and for application we're dealing with ICE, and it's asking you for the patch version, and for us is version number 3. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and remove the patch we just applied. So click enter, and asks you to confirm if you want to uninstall. You click yes, and then we just have to wait. So let me pause the video one more time and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just came back and said patch successfully uninstall. So that means if we do show ver now, and we no longer see that patch number 3, and we do show application status ICE, you can see the application server went back to the initializing state. So again, we have to wait for that to turn into running before we can get back to the GUI and see how things looks. And it looks like we're back on the GUI. So let's log back in. Again, you always get locked out when the service gets restarted. So let's log back in and see what it looks like on the GUI. Okay, again, if we go back under the administrations and maintenance, patch management, we expect to see nothing here since we just wrote it back. Okay, so what used to show up as number 3 is no longer there, so we know that we have successfully rolled back our patch. If you have multiple nodes, then you just pretty much have to repeat the process as far as applying the patch. When you do it on the command line, you have to do the node individually, as opposed to when you do it from the GUI, it kind of takes care of the whole cluster or the whole deployment for you. But when it does that, you have much less control. So basically, you just click install, and it goes off and does all the patched application for all nodes. You just have to sit there and wait, and you will see that thing keeps spinning, and you kind of have no idea where we are and what stage we are at. As compared to when you do the command line, you do it node by node, and you know exactly if each node is successfully upgraded to the patch or not. So that's why the command line is more a recommended way. And sometimes, just we saw the service gets restarted after you applied the patch, but there's from time to time that you might need to actually reload the nodes to get everything back up and start talking, and the replications and everything get back in sync. Just keep that in mind and make sure you're performing this during the maintenance windows. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our video on ICE with the patch install and rollback. Thank you for watching labmiss.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.